Say a quiet prayer. Dear God, as I've done this day, let me turn my thoughts to you and ask for your help in guiding me in everything I say and do. Give me the patience that I need to keep my peace of mind and the life's cares. I hope, dear God, some happiness to find. Give us the courage to face life's trials and not from troubles run. Let us keep this thought in mind, thy will, not mine, be done. I hope that I can kneel and say, dear God, I've tried my best. God bless all the mourners, all the sick people, and the veterans. And let us make the right decisions this evening and work together as one for one tribe, one people, one mind. Amen.
Just as an opening announcement, Councilman Snowball is on leave for a couple weeks. He had to use up some leave that he needed to use for this calendar year, and for that reason he won't be joining us this evening. So to the membership and also to the council, please contact Councilman Snowball by email if you need to reach him in his time of absence. We have the agenda with us this evening. We have a couple additions to the agenda under new business, adding Mountain Frenchman land sale. Numbers as number 5, number 6, the tribal education code. And are there any other additions to the agenda?
We got a letter from a person in a trailer.
I did read that letter. I didn't know if I didn't get to do any research on it from Lola. Did you? We can add it if you want to talk about it, but I didn't get to figure out where the family left off with what they turned in. I did hear that they were trying to track down the deed that they turned into the tribal office. Did you want to add it to the agenda, Louis or Rona?
Oh,
I spoke with Irita today, and she has Ken helping them out with the plumbing side, the COVID money, and then some other emergency, the EHR. Is it the EHR, the emergency housing funds? So I'm not sure if that's going to cover the whole thing, but they do got process going, and Ken did get the bids today, so he's going to start helping her out.
Okay. We will reach back out to her and see where they're at with that number, and then if we need to add it for the follow-up. Are you okay with that, Louis?
yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we didn't forget her.
Oh, no. Yep, you're right. I also was asking Teresa about it today. Any other additions to the agenda? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
We have a motion from Louis. We have a second from Rona. Is there any discussion? Any objections to the motion? If not, motion carried 5-0-0. Yes. Okay. All right. Good evening, Eric. We just approved the agenda. We had an added item, Eric, with the Mel Frenchman land sale and the tribal education code were the additions to the agenda. We are now on the reading of the minutes, October 5th, 2020, regular meeting minutes. If the Hi, Eric.
Yes, just real quick, what time do we call to order and prayer?
We called to order at 5:01 p.m. and Rona provided the prayer. Louis made the motion to adopt the agenda and Rona seconded.
Thank you.
So under reading of minutes, we have the October 5th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for October 5th.
Hi, Eric. Is there a second? We have a second from Thelma. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the October 5th minutes? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Is there a motion to approve October 7th, 2020 oath of office and reorganizational meeting minutes? Reorganization meeting minute.
So moved.
We have a motion by Louis for the October 7th, 2020 reorg. Is there a second? We have a second by Rona. Is there any discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Is there a motion to approve the October 7th special tribal council meeting minutes? We have a motion by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Brian. Is there any discussion? Are there any objections to the motion? If not, motion carried 6-0-0. October 12th, 2020 monthly land minutes. Is there a motion to approve the land minutes, land meeting minute?
So moved.
We have a motion from Louis to approve the October 12th land meeting minutes. Is there a second? We have a second from Rona. Is there any objection to the motion? Is there any discussion? Motion carried 6-0-0. We have the October 14th CEO report meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the CEO meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the October 14th CEO report meeting minutes.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Rona. Do we have any further discussion on the CEO report minutes? Any objections to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. 2, 4, 6, 2, 4. Yeah. 6-0-0. October 15th special tribal council meeting for enrollment. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Brian. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Louis. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. We have to ratify some 5 signatures. In the packet, we have a 5 signature to approve the job description for the EPSS project coordinator. Looking for the EPPS is the Education Pathways to Student Success. Is there a motion to approve that under the Education Department?
Motion to ratify.
Motion to
We have a motion to ratify that 5 signature by Brian. We have a second by Thelma. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Any objections? 6-0-0. We have a ratification of the IT building community screen site.
Motion to ratify.
We have a motion from Eric. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second.
We have a second from Rona. Any discussion? Any objections to the motion? Motion carries 6-0-0. That brings us to new business. And we have our annual turkey distribution and Christmas boxes.
Madam Chairman or Chairwoman,
Yes,
it's on the agenda because we had already approved the budget for it in the annual 2021 budget. We just need to approve so they can purchase the turkeys and the Christmas boxes.
okay, thank you, Lorelei. I was looking for it in the packet, but I'm not finding any backup, but do we need that number or should we just for the approved budget line item? Is there a motion to approve the annual turkey distribution and Christmas boxes per the approved budget?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
By Eric and a second by Thelma. Is there any further discussion? Any objections to the motion?
I just spoke with Alan on this and he said he would give us a breakdown for each holiday if needed, like at a later date. But it is in our budget and approved.
Thank you, Rona. Eric?
I would like a breakdown on the budget, just so we can see how many of our enrolled personnel we're serving. Because that number might increase or it might decrease. So just for tribal funding purposes, for us to stay on top of that.
Okay. I know that in the past they've accounted for around 800 turkeys, and that number has been used as a baseline for other ordering, such as the freezers. But we can definitely get you that breakdown. Would you like to proceed with the motion as
Yes.
the budgeted line item? Okay, and we will work with Rona and Alan to get that out to the council. Is there any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Our next item is a sponsorship request for Sharon Rose Bassett. Do we have Keely on the phone? Sharon Rose reached out to the council and she was not able to be here tonight because she is working and she couldn't get the time off. So I'm thankful that that she's working and in school, and I just really proud of her. But so tonight, this evening, her mother was going to speak on her behalf on her request. Keely?
Good evening, council. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. My daughter Sharon transferred to Morningside College this year. She is a junior. She's majoring in pre-law. Interestingly, she was a biochem major before that. But anyway, she was awarded a spot on the Morningside cheer team and has been cheering for them. You might have seen some of my Facebook posts where we're at her games. And I visited with Darla Kay, and we think that Sharon's probably the first or one of the first tribal members that is cheering at the college level. You might know that the Morningside Mustangs are national champions and are just killing it on the field. So she's supporting a really good team. And what she's asking for is sponsorship of the cheerleading team. One of the fundraisers that they have is for a thing called their Superfan t-shirts. And so if this council would approve that, it would be $100. Sharon's already raised more than that towards the goal. And it would say on the back of the t-shirt that the Winnebago tribe is one of the sponsors of their cheer team. And so that's what she's requesting.
Question,
I think,
what's the total amount for the shirt she's planning on ordering?
The sponsorship request is for $100. That is the, what every sponsor is being asked for is 100. So like, for instance, I'm a parent. Since I don't own a business, I just bought a bunch of t-shirts from her, and, but that's what it's for.
I think we ought to give them at least 250.
I would agree with Councilman LaRose that I would kind of like to see a little bit more than that 100, because she's one of our enrolled members doing good things and representing us in a good way out there. I would like to say 200 at least, to double what was requested. Thank you.
I said, thank you, gentlemen. That's very generous. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I'd like to make a motion to sponsor Sharon Rose Bassett for $200 for her t-shirt cheer team.
Eric, do we have a second? We have a second from Brian. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? Motion carried 600. Thank you, council, for your generosity, and best wishes to Sharon on her season and representing the tribe.
Thank you, council. We do have 2 additional tickets to her game this weekend on Saturday that starts at 1 p.m. If there's anybody from the council that would like to attend with Brad and I, we would surely love to have you join us. Just please let me know.
Okay, thank you, Keely. Will you work with Teresa to see if any of the council members are interested in that?
All right, thank you. Mhm. Thank you very much, council. I really appreciate this on behalf of my daughter and our family. I thank you.
Our next presentation is from Pamela Bazis, from UNL, the Special Education Department, and there's a proposed exploration project. Do we have Pamela on the phone? So in the meantime, if Pamela is joining us or not, in the packet, there's some information. And from what I understand, Pamela is looking to shadow and observe some of the services that we provide for, I believe, deaf students. And what I think that we need, what she needs out of the council is a referral to the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, which is a committee that the tribe has to review and approve things that are of research capacity. And but that's just an overview from my understanding. But if Pamela is on the meeting, she can elaborate on that.
Madam Chair, looks like she is on. Pam, are you there? She went on self mute. Let's try it again. Pam, go ahead and we're trying to hear you here. Pam, go ahead and keep trying to talk into your microphone. We're going to send you a webcam requests. Pam, we're going to make you a presenter so you can share your screen. It does look like she's trying to do something, but Pam, we still can't hear you on our end. Send unmute request. A request to unmute has been sent to Pam. And Pam, I guess third and final call. And it looks like she's having some issues there, Madam Chair. It looks like she's going to try to come back in as a different person. 1 second. Pam, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yay! Sorry about that.
Good evening, Pam. Thank you for joining us this evening. Can you explain to the council what your request is about, please?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I am currently part of the special education department at University of Nebraska Lincoln, and we're working on a project right now. And you are right; it's with across the entire state of Nebraska. And what we're trying to do is provide instruction for children with visual impairments in instruction and writing. And our goal of this right now is really exploratory. We're just going to go out across, we're trying to get to be able to have a sample of every child in the state of Nebraska that has visual impairments, that so we can get an idea of what kind of writing instruction they're receiving, and on top of that, how are they functioning and able to participate within schools as with the student visual impairment. And so our project is actually called Project VIEW, which just stands for visual impairments in education and writing. And like I said, our goal, we're working with kids K through 12 all across Nebraska. And ultimately what we want to do is build like a knowledge base around the entire state for what kind of instruction's currently going on. How could we support teachers, and also how can we support those kids that need that instruction. And so our goal right now is like I said, collecting information about what's going on out there in all the different schools. And we're approaching y'all because one of our teachers of students with visual impairments who worked through the ESU-1, she has a student that she comes and provides services to in Winnebago. And so what we are requesting is, would your permission to contact the school and contact the teachers to see if they would be interested in participating. Anybody along the way has the option to say, no, I'm not interested. But we wanted to get your opinion or your approval first, according to our IRB, to see if we could even make that connection.
The Winnebago tribe also has an IRB.
Okay.
And have you had any contact with them?
No, I don't think so. I think Teresa just had me come speak with y'all first, and then I wasn't told to speak with an IRB. So yeah, I know I haven't contacted anyone yet.
We have a committee also that reviews any requests to do research and data collection.
Okay.
And
yeah.
so my recommendation would be that we refer you to the IRB.
Okay. That sounds great.
And just so that, I mean, that's just the process that the tribe has in place.
Okay.
And the individuals that sit on that have their own, I'm sure, protocol on how they review these. But I'm really thankful that we have an opportunity to enhance services and improve the delivery of education to some of our visually impaired, so I think it's a good thing. Does the council have any questions for Pamela?
I think it's a good report, a good proposal. And it should fly by the review board.
Yeah, we're really hoping that we'll be able to get so much information that then our goal is like once we collect the information, we'll be able to get that out to all the teachers across the whole state of Nebraska and all the parents and students. And so we're really excited about the potential that we could really help people with this. So thank you.
Would the tribe's data be for this project only?
Yes. So yes, for this would be just this project. And we have within our IRB, and I'm sure you've probably seen before as well, but we have very strict privacy and systems set up where we would like no names would be attached. We have secure servers where we keep things on, and what we'll be collecting is really more of like anecdotal data from the teachers. Just have them fill out a survey. Where are some areas you need help, and we would also just do an online interview with them to see what's working well, what do you need help with, kind of those type of things. And then on the student side, we would do a quick little writing, like get a writing sample from them, like what are they using to write with, with our students with visual impairments. They may need more technology, or they may need other things that we could possibly help them get, through the study. So yeah, and anything that we would collect would be stored on our secure server. And then once we collect all the data, then it's always destroyed. So.
Does the council want to make a recommendation for approval to the IRB? Does the council want to just refer this to the IRB? How would you like to proceed?
Chairwoman,
Eric?
I would be in agreement to referring to the IRB to be following our tribal structure, and have the IRB bring that to the council at a later date when they can come up with a plan of how to integrate that into our education.
So we have a motion from Eric to refer Pamela, the UNL Special Education Proposed Exploration Project Visual Impairment to the IRB for approval. Do we have a second? We have a second from Rona. Is there any further discussion? Are there any objections to the motion?
But for discussion, just to clarify, it should say refer to the Winnebago IRB. We didn't
Yes.
have Winnebago in there.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Eric and Rona?
Yes.
Is there any further discussion? Any objections to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. Pamela, will you reach out to Teresa to get the contact person for the Winnebago IRB? I want to make sure that your project moves along in a timely manner and that we get that presented, and they'll probably do an approval perhaps through email and get it going for the students.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
Our next agenda item is the Indian Housing Plan for the Winnebago Housing Development Corporation or Commission. I'm looking for it. We did have a signed document last week, and then this is, but a motion is required to approve that plan. I don't know if everyone got a chance to review that. Coley, do you know anything about, or I guess as a board member, I understand it's an annual thing that we do, but is there anything in particular that that the council needs to know or talk about that item? Dana came over last
Sorry.
week and
Yeah, sorry, I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
okay. Well, it's just it's an annual form, and basically the form I signed says that we give the HGC, you know, the authority to submit that on our behalf, the annual housing plan and the Indian housing plan. And so it's already been signed and submitted because the deadline was last week, but it just requires a motion from the table. And so Dana, yes.
Oh, I'd say a motion to approve and then a point of discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Brian to approve the Indian housing plan for WHDC. Is there a second? We have a second from Louis. Is there discussion, Brian?
Yes. Just to point out for the council members, because I know that there has been some discourse, not just amongst the council members, but also from community members. In this budget, there are listings for meth remediation, and that process will move forward once these dollars are approved and drawn down. So the boarded up houses, this is where the money's going to come from to help fix those. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
The summary of events, I can't find the page number on this. But it's above programs, they've been, you got the basic operation and maintenance. We had the 12-plex burned down, and that's under construction now. We're doing a modernization of the original houses. We had meth testing. We had a lot of homes that were closed down because of meth. So that's the overall picture of what we're doing. Plus we had a triplex for veterans. And we've got a lot going on. A projects going on.
Madam Chair, who seconded that motion?
Louis did. And Louis, thank you for elaborating on what that housing plan includes.
I got a comment. Some of these funds has been in there for 4 years now. Like these tiny homes and that, like Louis said, those veterans homes, they've been in there for over 3 years. I'd say 4. I've been on that board. I don't know what we're waiting for, what they're waiting for. It seems like, I don't want to be that guy, but I think, it seems like they're waiting for a construction company to squeeze in time or when our allotted time when they get these done for our people, and that then they need them. And with these boarded houses, it's frustrating. I don't know what they're waiting for to use this money. And I'm on that board. And you can go back and look and see how long that money's been sitting in those accounts.
Well, thank you for not only your service on that board, but thank you for your awareness on those line items, because we don't want them to be authorized and not be spent. So we will definitely try to get a status on some of those projects. Eric?
To have this in front of us to approve this, I think it would have been good to have someone from the housing here for us to communicate with at this time. Like right now, we're getting comments. and myself, I see some meth cleanup and meth supplies. 900,000 going to the veterans. I haven't heard anything on the last year of any of this, and we haven't heard anything from housing on any of this in the last year of what they're doing. And like Councilman Brown was just stating, that we need to have a update on what's going on with housing and what their projection is for the upcoming year 2021, because in 2020 here we really haven't seen anything on the boarded up houses. And I know that's been like that for years before I came on council, and we addressed that last year, and here we are again still talking about the same thing. So I think it would be good to have a meeting with housing, to schedule a meeting with housing so we could have some of these questions answered with the council. Thank you.
We can certainly do that. I know that the director has been out on some medical leave, but we can definitely perhaps call on her deputy and to get a status report. The other option is we could work with Louis and Coley as our sitting board members to reach out and just try to gather some information and leading up to the discussion that we want to have. So does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, we'll address that at our next meeting. I get some earlier.
And then once we get some information to the council, then we can look at scheduling that discussion to answer any questions. So thank you, council, for that. We have Louis.
How does really stingy with their money? We had a hard time getting the additional money to rebuild that 12-plex. The original insurance adjuster said it would just fix a corner of that. It wasn't until the tribe and all its construction and engineering people got together, had a meeting with an insurance company, and ended up getting a lot more money. So we had to replace the whole thing. And we had to come up with HUD money. That put us under HUD rules. So we had to work through that. Took us a long time to get that building the way we wanted it. We had to go to bat. And you just can't say you're going to do something when you're working with HUD. Because there's always some kind of crazy rule you never thought about that comes up. We had to go through asbestos because there wasn't an issue when those units were built. But there's a problem now. Same way with meth. That looks like an easy problem to tackle. There's a lot of red tape or white tape involved in dealing with rules and regulations on rehabbing those units. And the workers there have to wear protective clothing and have to be trained to work and use those hair masks. You have to be certified. So it's a whole new ballgame for us. So I feel we're limping along, and we got some pretty good people We can't get drivers. Our young men don't have driver's license. They're good workers, but they don't have a license. And that hinders our workforce. So we overload our good workers. Same way we overload our police officers and they leave. So we're struggling, but we're making it. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Do we have any further discussion on the Indian housing plan? Is there any objections to the motion? Okay. I'm showing Eric away from his desk, so motion carried 6-0-0. Oh, Eric's there. Eric, are you voting on that last motion? Yes, okay, 7-0-0. Thank you.
Dane,
Our next agenda item is the Mountain Frenchman land sale. At our land meeting, the resolution was not before us because there was a change in the tracts of land being sold. And so Teresa worked with Lorelei and Fanny to get that updated. And you had some documents in your email. There a motion to approve the Mountain Frenchman land sale?
Was there a resolution number for this?
It was 20-189A. Was the original, but we're doing an amended one, so I'm not sure what number. Do we still put it under the same number or do we give it a new 21 number?
The original was 21 dash. What'd you say?
No, it was 20-189A. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was 20-189.
And is that the revised one you received, or that was
The revised one still has 20-189A, and my question is, should it be a 21 since we're amending the resolution?
So, from what I understand, he just took off one tract of land, so that's the only difference. And I don't think that other one had been approved, or is this a whole another one? Well,
The other one had been approved, but it had 2 tracks. And when he got over there, he decided not to sell the second tract. So we're amending the resolution to go with the 1 tract he is selling, which is the 16,000.
The resolution number would be 20-189A. The A is what makes the amended resolution.
Okay.
thank you, Teresa. So is there a motion to adopt resolution 20-189A?
So move, Madam Chair.
We
Second,
have a motion from Brian. We have a second from Louis. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? 7-0-0. Our next item is the Tribal Education Code. And I believe we may have Amy or Mackie on the line to discuss that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Mackie.
Hello, good evening, Tribal Council. So I am presenting the education code tonight. I've kind of approached the council back in April, around that time, February, April, March, and just kind of give them a heads up on what we were working on. And originally we were trying to get it approved by September, but the pandemic kind of put a hold on certain things. But we actually have, one moment. We actually got a final draft ready and going. We are working with the Native American Rights Fund. They're kind of experienced with working with other tribes and helping them develop their education code and things like that. So they've got a lot of experience with that. And we actually met with the general counsel last week to kind of go over some revisions and edits. So we've been working with NARF and the general counsel for the tribe. And so the education code is a part of the STEP grant. It's a 1-year grant, and we got an extension for October to get that continued and get that completed. And so a part of the education code is to kind of create more consistency and more communication between the WPS and the state education department. And so we've been in contact with all the education entities in town, with the State Department and WPS, and kind of getting an idea of what this code is going to look like and how it's going to benefit all of us. And the thing to keep in mind with the education code is that it's going to be a living, breathing document. So it's going to be changing every 3 to 5 years, depending on the community's needs. And a good thing about that is, you know, everybody has a say to what needs to be adjusted or changed into the code. And a part of the education code is the creation of an advisory board that consists of the education entities and the town and the community of Winnebago. And so the education code is going to create more conversations and potentially more funding from the state for different tribal programming and things that we need here in the community. But also another thing that we are targeting with this education code is the idea of collecting data and sharing that data. There's, I think we all know the limited data when it comes to education and Native American students. So we're working with the LEA, the WPS to kind of get that going right now too. And we kind of have a small agreement going on now, but with the pandemic going on, it's kind of hard to go with the plan that we had set forward. So we're adjusting that as well. But that is another component of the education code, is creating that data. So that way, when we have that data, we can use it for future grant funding and just kind of give an idea to the community and other surrounding entities of the trends for our education. And then we'll be using one of our own resources, the tribal education or tribal data center. So we've been having conversations with them as well. But that's some of the components of the education code. Like I said, we want to get this approved before October. It also officially establishes our education department as a TEA, a tribal education department. Other tribes have that as well, and that's going to help us with future grant funding as well. So that's kind of what the education code is. And like I said, it's going to be a living, breathing document. It's going to change. And we've sent the education code out to all the education entities to see if they had any feedback or suggestions, and to create a more collaborative effort. And like I said, with the advisory board going to be created from this is going to be more of a proactive approach to keep that consistent communication and collaboration.
Eric.
Good evening, Sandy. Thank you for your due diligence for our children, our education, making our tribe a more smarter place to be for the future. But knowing that that we have COVID here, this pandemic is upon us, how our educational teaching styles are changing. A lot of them aren't in school, and they're on this computer. And doing this living, breathing document to approve that. Due to this COVID, I would kind of personally like to have a annual update to see how things are moving, to better things or to help our people looking for some education. And so that's kind of what I'd be looking forward to in approving this, is a annual update or a biannual update as far as that goes with this COVID, because at any time it could change, for for better or worse. And in this case with the pandemic, we hope it's for the better. And so I would just like to have a update, either a biannual or annual update as this probably gets approved this evening. And so once again, thank you for your due diligence and hard work for our people.
Of course. Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. That would be ideal. Like that'd be able to work. And like I said, with this advisory board, it's gonna kind of bring us all together to kind of give an idea of, you know, who's doing this over there, who's doing this and that, and just kind of bounce off each other ideas and things like that. And like I said, it can be updated on an annual basis. It's just kind of up to the advisory board if they want to, you know, make that adjustment on an annual basis. But yeah, with the COVID updates, on an annual basis, that's a possibility.
Thank you.
Other comments for our questions for Sandy?
So
Is
this
there-
code is ready to go.
Yeah, like I said, we work with the Native American Rights Fund. They've been working with us since February, and with the change of the general counsel, we've been working with them since, I would say, July. And we had a final kind of review session last week, and we all met together and they all agreed upon the changes and recommendations on it.
Okay, at the end, it has appropriations and it says tribal council may appropriate funds. What do you see in the future as in funds if you're acting as a board?
With the appropriations portion, so you know, unfortunately with grant funding, it's limited, and you know, some of the grants are kind of competitive. And for an example, I'll give you now, with the STEP grant, one of the activities was incorporating more language, history, and culture into our public school. And we've got some lesson plans and pacing guides created from K to 4th grade, focusing more on the social studies standards for Nebraska. Unfortunately, we weren't awarded for the next competition for STEP. And so with that work, we're still trying to figure out other ways and funding to keep that work going. We've been working with 2 community members to kind of get those lesson plans and pacing guides created. So just situations like that, that's kind of where we're thinking with appropriations, if there's funding available to continue that work. We don't want to, you know, stop somewhere where we're making headway. So that's kind of like an example where some of funding would come into play.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if Mackie and the group, are we going to be appointing this group, or are they just department heads from each education area?
Do you want me to answer that? Or are you
no, that's what I'm wondering is, you know, who's appointing the board, if there's going to be a board, and then if we have this board, can that board work with our grant department and try to find some funding that will help their program keep going?
So with the advisory board, there will be voting members and non-voting members, and the voting members would consist of the education entities in town. So I'll give you an example. So a representative from WPS, a representative from Little Priest Tribal College, a representative from I want to say St. Augs, and a representative from Pastor Ricky's preschool, and a representative from Educare for early Head Start and Head Start. And the chair would be the director of education, which would be Amy, just so she's in those conversations. And then community programmings that deal with education, they would also be on the board, but they would be non-voting members. And then we actually have some bylaws created right now for that board, but the general counsel and the NARF suggested that we get this education code created first, and then we would bring the advisory board together and we'd work on the bylaws together, so that way they have insight and a little bit more collaborative into creating those bylaws as well.
Okay.
And then to answer your question with the grants department, we've been actually working with them to get some grant funding. Something we just learned recently is we kind of been focusing more on like Native American based grants, but the OIE, the Office of Indian Education, suggested to go for grants that, you know, not limit to only Native American students. So that's another opportunity that we can look into as well.
I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of minority grants out there also.
Mm.
Okay.
I did just see in the chat, it says, the Tribal Education Code also provides for an annual State of the Reservation Education Report to be provided to the Tribal Council. So this may address Eric's question about getting an annual report. So we will get something in writing.
And another great thing about that as well, with the code is Amy is holding the first kind of we were supposed to have the first education summit this year back in April, but we're doing it virtually. We actually have our last day this Friday for the kind of 3-day summit. And part of that is bringing education entities together to share that data. And we're going to have the, you know, Nebraska Education Department come in and participate in it as well to create that consistent relationship and strengthen that communication too. And so when we do gather all this information, it's like I said, the data is going to be stored at our in-house tribal data center, and we're working on data sharing agreements as well, so we're not violating any kind of laws and things like that.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Mackie, this is Keely. I heard you list all the entities that would be involved in the education board, but I noticed that you didn't mention any parents that would be on that board. Now, we all know that parents are the students' greatest teachers, really, and I think it would be wonderful if there were 2 voting member parents that were also appointed to that board. Parents come with such a different point of view lots of times. Having a child that was special needs all the way from his first IFSP when he was 3 months old to, oh my gosh, all the way getting him through college. I had quite a different point of view than some of the educators at the school where my son went. And I think that we need to recognize that parents add to the discussion and bring a wealth of information that sometimes educators do not have, and this board should recognize that our children are precious and that parents need to be involved. Thank you.
I guess I forgot to mention that piece. There is actually going to be an involvement from both parents and a student portion to the advisory board. Right now, what it's looking like is like there wouldn't be necessary voting powers to that, but like I said, that's not really for me to decide. That can change when the advisory board comes together to create those bylaws together. But I did forget to mention that there is going to be a parent and student portion to that for more input and perspective.
Thanks, Mackie.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that feedback.
And then, sorry. And in reading that too, it said that there was council members can be on there, but they're not a voting member.
So as Thelma noted and as Keely mentioned, it said, I mean, the code as written would say that parents, students, youth organization representatives, community leaders, elders, and tribal council members are non-voting board members. So we had some feedback from a parent tribal member. We have a little feedback from our councilwoman. So how, I guess, I hear you, Mackie, but if we approve it as is, it means that those individuals would be non-voting members.
What section are you?
19-202 on number 1 on page 5.
Yeah, so the parents, students, and youth organization representatives, committee leaders, elders, and tribal council members will be non-voting members. So like I said, that was just kind of a suggestion from other tribes and kind of how they were doing that with their advisory boards. That can, I guess that could be amended after the advisory board is created, because then that's kind of what the NARF was suggesting is that was an idea, but then we can come back to that and make an amendment if we need it to, because that's going to be based off the bylaws.
So I understand that. I just think that the code, if this is the code and it's gonna become tribal law, then it should say, it should reflect, I guess, whatever. But, I don't know, I guess it's up to the council, but I'm hearing the feedback and I appreciate the good work that went into this document and also the partnerships that you called upon to, create this document. So I know there was a lot of research and whatnot that went into that. So, but I'm just kind of taking the feedback of the council and from some of our tribal members on the meeting. So I guess the question is there a motion to approve as is? Is there a motion to approve amending the Tribal Education Advisory Board? Just looking to the council for next steps. Eric?
This was brought to the council to accept the changes to the code, correct?
Yes, so the document brought forward today is as presented, yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to, oh, how would that be said? To accept the changes to the code, the education code?
We would be approving Title 19, the Winnebago Tribal Education Code.
Madam Chair, if we're doing code revision, those are done through resolution.
This is Amy, and I don't think that there's currently a tribal education code. So that was the purpose of this grant, was to develop the education code because there hadn't been one. So it was a one-year grant.
If the motion is revised to state to adopt a resolution to establish this code, I will second that.
Yes.
So thank you, Eric, for the motion to adopt resolution approving Title 19.
Sorry, it would be, the next, available resolution number is 21-17.
Thank you, Lorelei. So we have a motion to adopt resolution 21-17, approving Title 19 Tribal Education Code. We have a second from Brian. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objections to the motion? Motion carried. 7-0-0. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Amy, for all your work and all your team members that had a part in bringing this code forward and for the betterment of our education system.
Thank you.
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
So that concludes our new business. We are now moving on to tribal council items. And our first item is the Heidman Law Firm PLLC contract 30-day notice for termination. Eric.
I think this should be held off on until we do the 3-bid procurement process, because we haven't even that process hasn't even been brought up to the council yet. So I'd have to say that we would have to agree on beginning that process before we go further and setting up a termination date for them, for a Heidemann Law Firm.
So the second item under tribal council items is to advertise requests for proposals for general council services to secure those bids. So the contract currently states that either party would have to give 30 days notice. So this would give, the firm would have 30 days still employed as general counsel.
I still think that we need to agree on starting the 3 bid procurement process. And then once we get the 3 bids in, the council should reconvene on that and decide which law firm that they would like to go with. So that would still be, that could be up to 6 to 12 months, or at least 6 months at the latest, for that to come at the latest. I'm not saying the earliest, but the latest. So I would say that that's where we should start, the 3 bid procurement process.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the 30-day notice of termination for the Heidemann contract as general services.
We have a motion from Lorelei, and we have a second from Louis to give 30 days notice for termination of the Heidemann Law Firm PLLC general counsel contract.
I object.
Any further discussion on this item? We have an objection from Eric. Is there any further objections? We have Dalma, Coley. All those in favor of terminating Heidemann contract giving 30-day notice, raise your hand. Louis, Lorelei, Rona, Brian, no. Coley, Dalma, Eric. 403, motion carried. The second item we have is a request for proposal for general counsel services.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the RFP, effective immediately.
We have a motion by Brian, effective immediately, to advertise for general counsel services.
Second.
We have a second by Louis. Do we have any discussion? Are there any objections to the motion?
I object.
Eric, Dalma? Are there any further objections to the motion? Coley? All those in favor of advertising for general counsel request for proposal, raise your hand. Yes. Louis, Lorelei, Brian, Rona, no. Eric, Dalma, Foley. 403, motion carried. The next item on the agenda is to amending the adopted mandatory drug and alcohol testing for tribal council members. As noted from our special meeting, we changed to the urine analysis. And so in your packet, we have a resolution that amends the adopted mandatory drug and alcohol testing for tribal council, as well as the drug and alcohol test policy and procedure. So this document was previously prepared when the council had 3 options. And so now this is the updated document to reflect the urine analysis change. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 21-18?
Motion to adopt, Madam Chair.
Second,
Brian, a second by Louis to adopt resolution -21, amending the adopted mandatory drug and alcohol testing for tribal council members. Are there any discussions? Are there any objections to the motion?
I object.
Eric, Delma, Coley. All those in favor of adopting resolution 20-01, raise your hand. Louis, Lorelei, Rona, Brian. All those opposed? Eric, Dalma, Foley. 4-0, or excuse me, 4-3-0, motion carried. Our next item is, Mr. Tony Wood has asked for an executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session at 6:12?
So move, Madam Chair.
Brian, at 6:12 to go into executive. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Is there any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. We are now in executive session at 6:12. Karen, will you please, I guess, close the meeting while we're in executive session?
Tony Wood would,
Close the meeting while we're in executive session.
Tony Wood would need to be in the meeting or be able to stay.
And Irita,
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay,
Yeah, I'm here.